You can have everything and still feel nothing. You can be surrounded by people and still feel like you're suffocating in silence. Wake up in a house you paid for, scroll through notifications from people who care, and yet somewhere deep inside you, it's hollow, not broken, not ruined, just empty. And that's worse, isn't it? Because at least when something's broken, there's a reason, a cause, a scar you can point to. But this quiet emptiness, it haunts you with no face, no warning, no explanation. Just a lingering sense that something is missing. You think maybe it's more money, more recognition, more travel, more love. But you've chased that more before, haven't you? You reached it, and it didn't save you. Because this ache, the one no one sees, has nothing to do with what you have. It has everything to do with who you've abandoned in the process. Yourself. Not the version of you the world claps for. Not the one performing strength every day. Not the one trying to outrun emptiness with achievements. I mean the real you. The one that dreamed before deadlines. The one that moved with wonder, not strategy. The one that spoke truth before learning how to be palatable. See, here's what they never told you growing up. Your soul doesn't care about success if success costs you your substance. Your heart doesn't beat harder when your bank account grows, if it's grown at the expense of your truth. That's why the mansion feels cold. That's why the compliments feel shallow. That's why even when people praise your life, you feel like you're slowly disappearing inside of it. Because you are. You're not living. You're performing. You're not building. You're pleasing. You're not grounded. You're reacting. And until you choose to stop chasing what impresses others and start pursuing what ignites you, you will always feel empty. Let me tell you something hard. You weren't created to fit in. You were designed to fulfill. But purpose doesn't scream. It whispers. And most of us are so distracted by noise, we can't even hear our name being called. We've traded stillness for stimulation. We've replaced meaning with metrics. We've mistaken applause for alignment. And now our souls are starving in a world addicted to validation. That's the truth most aren't ready for. Because it's easier to blame a job, a partner, a system, a schedule, than to admit somewhere along the way you stopped telling yourself the truth. You abandoned the hard obedience of purpose for the easy convenience of comfort. And comfort is the silent killer of destiny. It never attacks you. It seduces you. It whispers, "You're fine," when your spirit is bleeding. It tells you to wait when your future is burning. You weren't built to be fine. You were built to burn with something greater than yourself. But burning requires fuel. And the fuel of destiny is found in one terrifying place: honesty. So if your life feels empty, don't add more. Strip away the lie. Strip away the masks. Strip away the hustle you've used to distract yourself from who you've become. Ask yourself without filter, without ego, without excuse, when did I stop being fully alive? And sit with that answer. Let it crack you open. Because only what's broken can be rebuilt with truth. You don't need another goal. You need a resurrection. You need to look at the shell of your current self and bury it with honor. Because the new life you're craving can't begin until the false life you've been living ends. Let's get honest. You say you're tired, but it's not your body that's exhausted. It's your soul carrying 1,000 decisions you never made for yourself. You feel numb not because life is boring, but because your spirit has been buried beneath layers of compliance. You've been editing yourself to fit into boxes you never believed in. Boxes labeled respectable, productive, likable, successful. But in doing so, you lost the shape of your original design. You see, emptiness doesn't come from lack of things. It comes from lack of alignment. You could gain the whole world and still feel bankrupt because you never deposited into who you truly are. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you did something that set your soul on fire, without asking permission? When was the last time you spoke what you really felt, not what would earn applause? When was the last time you said yes to something terrifying, simply because it felt like home? That's what you're missing. Not a vacation, not a raise, not another 5-step morning routine. You're missing you, the wild you, the convicted you, the rebellious, passionate, hungry, grounded, joyful version of you that existed before life told you to behave. Before they taught you that silence is strength, that compliance is character, that playing small is noble. It's not. It's spiritual suffocation. The truth. Most people don't change because change demands they confront the lies they've built comfort around. Because if you change, you lose the sympathy. You lose the excuse. You lose the ability to blame the world for your emptiness. But you gain something far more valuable: power. And power doesn't always feel good at first, because stepping into your truth doesn't feel warm. It feels like death. The death of your old identity, the death of your false pride, the death of the illusion you've spent years trying to maintain. That's why most people stay empty. Because full aliveness requires full responsibility. Responsibility for your choices. Responsibility for your pain. Responsibility for your energy, your thoughts, your reactions, your patterns. And yes, responsibility for the fact that you've been betraying yourself, quietly, consistently, and with a smile. But here's the beauty. You don't need to be perfect to return to yourself. You just need to be willing. Willing to stop lying. Willing to stop numbing. Willing to stop blaming. Willing to look in the mirror and say, I'm not okay with this version of me anymore. That is the first step to healing your emptiness. Not another distraction, not another hack. Just the bold, trembling decision to say I'm done pretending. Because nothing changes until you do. Your outer world will continue to echo the chaos of your inner war. So stop redecorating the battlefield. Lay down the mask. Pick up the truth, even if it shakes, even if it costs, even if it scares you to your core. Because the truth will shatter your illusions, but it will also set your soul ablaze. And right now you don't need another answer. You need a fire. If this message hit you deep, if you're done living stuck, if this stirred something you know you can't ignore, like the video, not for us, but as a signal to yourself that this moment mattered. Drop a comment. Let us know what you're breaking free from. Share it. Someone in your life is silently drowning, waiting for a word like this. You don't get to feel full by collecting more. You feel full when you begin subtracting, removing everything that's not truly yours. You see, fulfillment isn't about having, it's about being. Being honest, being intentional, being real enough to stand in your truth even when it costs you the crowd. Let them walk. Let the old roles collapse. Let the fake friendships fade. Let the shallow accolades rot. Because until you detach from what empties you, you will never have room for what fulfills you. And let's be clear, you don't get your life back through comfort. You get it back through courage. The courage to look at your patterns and admit, this isn't working anymore. The courage to stop trying to heal in the same environment that broke you. The courage to stop waiting for permission to be who you already know you were meant to be. And yes, it will be lonely. And yes, it will be messy. But nothing grows in a comfort zone except regret. That ache you feel in your chest isn't something to fix. It's a compass. It's the soft knock of your soul saying, hey, we're not okay here. Hey, we were made for more than scrolling and surviving. Hey, it's time. Time to rise. Time to stop outsourcing your self-worth to people who don't even know who they are. Time to stop calling anxiety normal and settling for just fine. The old you wanted approval. The new you wants freedom. The old you wanted comfort. The new you craves purpose. You don't need another hobby. You need a reason. A reason that pulls you out of bed before the sun. A reason that makes your voice shake when you speak it out loud. A reason that makes safe feel like a prison. Because when you find that reason, emptiness evaporates. Not because life becomes easier, but because it becomes aligned. When your outer world begins to reflect your inner conviction, you start to remember who you are. You start walking differently, thinking differently, speaking differently. Because you're no longer performing. You're no longer selling yourself for scraps of validation. You're no longer watering down your light for people afraid to shine. You become dangerous to mediocrity. And that's when the resistance shows up. Your old identity will beg you to return. Your old habits will whisper, "It's not that bad here. Stay small. Stay quiet." But listen to me. Comfort is seductive. And it's a liar. Comfort will kill your calling in a suit and tie. It'll look reasonable, logical, well-dressed, and it will bury you slowly with a smile. But discomfort is honest. Discomfort says, "I know you're scared, but you're meant for more. I know this is hard, but staying stuck is harder." And if you listen closely, you'll hear that quiet invitation beneath the chaos: build again. Build what they said was impossible. Build what the old you never had the courage to imagine. Build a life that's rooted in truth, not trend. In purpose, not pressure. Because the emptiness, it was never a curse. It was your soul's last line of defense. It was the signal flare from within saying, "You're living too far from the fire." So burn, friend. Burn for something real. Burn for something eternal. Burn for the version of you that never stopped believing even when you did. We live in a world that teaches you to perform before it teaches you to be. To produce before you understand why. To chase titles before you've ever found truth. But if you don't know who you are, you will spend your life building things that impress everyone but you. That is how the emptiness starts. You climb a ladder that was never yours. You win awards for a role you never auditioned for. You become so addicted to applause, you forget the sound of your own voice. And one day you look in the mirror, all the success, all the stuff, and something inside you whispers, "I don't recognize me anymore." And that is the moment of reckoning. That's where the old you must die. Not because it was wrong, but because it was too small for the life you were born to live. The truth. You're not exhausted because you're doing too much. You're exhausted because you're doing too little of what sets your soul on fire. You've been busy, but you haven't been becoming. You've been surviving, but you haven't been seeing. Seeing that your time is not infinite. Seeing that procrastination is not protection, it's poison. And every day you wait to become who you were meant to be is a day you lose to who you were never supposed to remain. So how do you fix it? Not with noise, not with more self-help books gathering dust, not with temporary highs or distractions dressed in purpose. You fix it by going silent. You fix it by going inward. You fix it by asking the question nobody wants to face. What if the life I built is not the life I was born for? Because until you answer that, until you're brave enough to sit in that silence and not run, you will keep filling your calendar and draining your soul. You fix the emptiness by confronting the lie. The lie that says, "You're too late. You missed your window. You should be happy with what you have. You're selfish for wanting more. You're not special enough. You're not strong enough." Lie, lie, lie. You were never meant to shrink your dreams to fit their comfort. You were never meant to tolerate average because greatness feels lonely. You were never meant to edit yourself for rooms that couldn't handle your full truth. You were meant to become dangerous to every limitation they tried to put on you. But only if you decide. Only if you stop bargaining with fear. Only if you stop worshiping the familiar. Only if you stop calling stuck a personality trait. You are not lost. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are becoming. And the bridge from empty to full Is this obedience? Obedience to that inner voice that whispers when the world gets quiet. Obedience to that calling that makes no logical sense but won't go away. Obedience to your becoming, even when it costs you everything that once made you feel safe. And yes, it will cost you. It will cost you your comfort. It will cost you the version of you that was liked but never fulfilled. It will cost you the illusion that you were ever in control. But in return, you will gain substance. You will gain peace. You will gain the weight of a life that actually fits. Because once you choose obedience to purpose, the emptiness becomes fuel. The ache becomes alignment. The fog becomes fire. And everything you thought you lost was just making space for who you were always meant to be. You think the enemy is failure. You think the reason you feel stuck is because you haven't succeeded yet. But no, the real enemy is numbness. The quiet, creeping numbness that comes from ignoring what you know in your bones is meant for you. You've been bargaining with your calling. You've been negotiating with the truth. You've been trying to make purpose convenient. But purpose has never worked on your schedule. And that's the heartbreak no one talks about. It's not just the pain of dreams that didn't happen. It's the guilt of knowing you didn't fully try. That somewhere between fear and distraction, between comfort and conformity, you buried your potential beneath what was easy. And now, it wakes you up at 3 a.m. It shows up when the applause fades. It whispers in boardrooms, marriages, bedrooms, churches. You were made for more, and you know it. That's why you're restless. Not because something is wrong with you, but because something inside you is right. Your soul is refusing to make peace with a version of life that keeps you busy but not alive. Because deep down, you're not looking for more success, you're looking for substance. For a reason to wake up that isn't tied to someone else's validation. For a life that doesn't just look good, but actually feels like yours. And that requires war. Not with the world, not with the haters, but with the part of you that keeps choosing less. The part that says, maybe tomorrow. The part that says, don't rock the boat. The part that says, who do you think you are? That voice has robbed you for years. It's time to silence it, not by arguing with it, but by acting in spite of it. Because the moment you move, the lie loses its power. The moment you act, even trembling, the chains begin to loosen. And here's the paradox. The more you obey your calling, the more it rewards you. But it won't reward your intentions. It rewards your decisions. It rewards the morning you get up without motivation. It rewards the boundaries you set without apology. It rewards the silence you protect, the distractions. You kill the comfort you sacrifice, so you can hear the whisper again. The whisper that says, this way, keep going, I've got you. And when you follow that voice, you don't just build a better life, you build a stronger you. You start becoming the kind of person who no longer runs from tension, but walks into it with resolve. The kind of person who doesn't need certainty to take a step, just clarity in your conviction. The kind of person who says, I will not live one more day being half of me. That's the edge. That's the turning point. That's when you stop trying to fix the emptiness with noise and instead burn down every excuse that kept you in the shallow end of your own destiny. Because hear me, you weren't built for shallow. You were built for deep water. Built for holy tension, built for the kind of bold obedience that scares you and frees you at the same time. You want to fix the emptiness. Good. Then stop praying for comfort and start asking for courage. Because when courage shows up, everything else falls in line. Your calling doesn't need your perfection. It needs your permission. Not someday. Not when you're less afraid. Now. You think you need more answers. But answers won't save you. Movement will, because the truth is your soul isn't starving for more information. It's starving for activation. You've read the books. You've watched the videos. You've highlighted the quotes and saved the reels and nodded along to sermons and speeches. But still, the void. Because until the moment your belief becomes a decision, your life stays in pause. Purpose isn't revealed by how much you know, it's revealed by what you're willing to do when it costs you something. It's revealed by the job you walk away from because it no longer matches your values. It's revealed by the version of you that no longer laughs at jokes that kill your conviction. It's revealed in the silence of early mornings when no one sees you show up, except the future you're building. And the moment you obey in the dark, the light comes. Not all at once, but just enough to take one more step. That's how calling works. You don't get a 5-year plan. You get one bold whisper. You don't get certainty. You get a nudge that won't let you sleep. And if you dare to follow it, you get something more powerful than clarity. You get alignment. Alignment with your future. Alignment with the highest version of you. Alignment with a purpose that can't be shaken by opinions, setbacks, or seasons. But alignment isn't cheap. It will cost you your comfort, your crowd, your coping mechanisms, your addiction to distraction, your excuses, yet your maybe one days. But what you get in return, you get you. Not the half-built version, not the watered-down version, not the version who lives for likes and dies by silence. The real you. The you who wakes up on fire and goes to bed empty because you gave the day everything. The you who doesn't chase peace anymore because you are peace. The you who no longer needs to be reminded you have a purpose because you've become the proof of it. That's how you fix the emptiness. You don't fill it with stuff. You don't fill it with noise. You burn it away with obedience. Because every time you obey what you know you're meant to do, you return home to yourself. That is the secret no one teaches. You don't find fulfillment. You build it by living in alignment with your assignment. And if that means walking alone for a season, so be it. If that means being misunderstood for a while, so be it. Because at the end of the day, it's not about being seen by the world. It's about being known by your own soul. That's the win. That's the wealth. That's the only life that doesn't leave you empty at the top. You were not created to fit. You were created to forge. And forging is a violent process. It involves heat pressure and sometimes the crushing of what's unnecessary. But that's how steel is born. That's how kings are formed. That's how legacies are written, not in comfort, but in confrontation. Confrontation with your excuses. Confrontation with your patterns. Confrontation with the parts of you that scream, "It's too late," or "You're not ready," or "Maybe next year." But let me tell you something that will shake your core. Your destiny isn't waiting for your readiness. It's waiting for your refusal to stay the same. Because purpose isn't polite, it's persistent. It'll tap on your shoulder in the silence. It'll chase you through the distractions. It'll whisper, then roar, until you finally say, "Enough. I will no longer betray myself." That's the beginning of everything real. The day you choose to betray your fears instead of your future. The day you stop shrinking to make others comfortable. The day you stop begging for signs and start building something with what you already have. And yes, it will be messy. You'll be laughed at. You'll feel lost. But you won't be empty. Because something sacred happens when a person truly commits to the path they were born for. Doors appear. Opportunities rise. People show up not all at once, but at the exact moment you're ready to receive them. But only after you've made the ruthless decision to stop settling. That's the deal. The universe does not move for wishers. It moves for walkers, people who walk their talk even when their legs shake. So if you're still searching for how to fix the void, how to silence the ache in your spirit, how to feel full again, here's the brutal truth. You don't need more time. You need less tolerance. You've tolerated too much. Tolerated mediocrity. Tolerated relationships that drain instead of pour. Tolerated jobs that pay your bills but bankrupt your soul. Tolerated stories about who you can't be. It's time to raise the bar on what you allow, because your life is not defined by your dreams, it's defined by what you tolerate. You fix the emptiness when you raise your standard to match your destiny. And you hold that standard not just when it's easy, but especially when it's not. That's what makes you different. That's what separates you. That's what builds a life that doesn't just look good from the outside, but feels right on the inside. A life of peace, purpose, and power, because you built it from within. And now, you know, you were never empty. You were just out of alignment, living in patterns that numbed you, following rules you never wrote, pretending to be someone the world would approve of, instead of becoming someone you would be proud of. But that ends today, because once you've seen it, once you've felt that fire flicker back to life, once you've realized that your fullness was always on the other side of your obedience, you can't go back. Not to distractions, not to delay, not to dull routines and half-lived dreams. No, you came here to build something eternal. And that begins not with a crowd, not with applause, but with a quiet, unshakable decision. I will no longer betray the person I was born to become. So don't just watch this video and move on. Do something. Build the habit. Make the phone call. Write the first sentence. Walk the first mile. Say no to what shrinks you. Say yes to what grows you. And if this voice has stirred something inside you, if this message met you where the world failed to, then don't keep it to yourself. Like this video to anchor your decision. Share it with someone who needs to be reminded they were never broken, only buried. And comment below with the one change you will make today to come back to life. Because you're not alone anymore. You're not lost. You're not stuck. You're just one decision away from the version of you who already has everything you're still searching for. Now go become them. And don't look back. Not